then we will do the practicals as well. But just to understand that how the system works here in Salesforce, based on the data security, that is one of the important things that has been asked into the interviews. So the security model of Salesforce, right? Wherever you go, whether you've been 6 months of experience or 2 years of experience, you would be asked about all these questions. Okay. Just to quickly revisit, whenever we open any of the object, right? So this is the object that you see on the tabs, and then over here you can see some rows and the columns. So the your columns are basically the name of the fields, okay, and then you have different records for those fields, okay. So this is how, as I already told, that we have Oracle database to save the structure from the backend, okay. This is just like a database table, okay. So your objects are like the databases, your fields, the columns, right? These are the columns of the table, and the records are similar to the rows, these rows, okay. Now, whenever someone asks you, and this is a very common question, like what accesses do you have in Salesforce? So whenever you have been asked this question, the first thing would be your profile, okay. So whatever profile that you have been given into Salesforce determine a lot of accesses. When we say a lot of accesses, as if like based on the profile, there are certain permissions, certain object settings, certain field permissions, and a lot of app permissions, right? That is being pre-configured whenever we assign a standard profile to any of the users. And based on that, we can also customize the profile, and we can go further and make changes as required. Okay. So that is the first thing that you read over here is the profiles. Okay. We have already discussed upon the first set of settings that we had, right? So, initially, when we log into the system, right, we should have the right login and password. We should be into the trusted IP ranges. We should be into the trusted login time, and we should be like if the system has activated multi-factor authentication that you usually saw, okay, uh, on even in your WhatsApp, right? You once you lock your phone with a fingerprint sensor and then you have a password on your WhatsApp. This is kind of an MFA, multi-factor authentications, right? So once you have all these barriers and the user is able to now log into the system, now what he would see would be determined by first the object level security, and that is determined by the profile. So if you go to the Salesforce org, and in the quick find, if you search for profiles, you will see a lot of these profiles over here. Okay, some are custom, some are standard. So whatever the custom profile that you can see over here, custom profile is equivalent to like custom objects that you can create or clone it from the standard profile. So let's say if there is a solution manager, if I click on clone, I would clone and I would make something as solution manager for USA, and that is a clone profile out of a standard profile. Okay, and then like once you create a user, right? So once you go and let's say you click on the user, right, and click on new user. So as we discussed previously as well, whatever if you're trying to create a new user, let's give as and over here you would be asked about a specific licenses, and based on the specific licenses you would be able to choose a specific profile. Okay, for an example, we have already consumed Salesforce licenses over here, so I would be choosing a platform license and I would be giving the profile of Salesforce platform user. So whatever the object permissions or whatever the field settings has already been configured for this users would be by default applicable to this user. Okay, I'll show you in a minute. Let me just save it. So let's go to let's inspect the profile once, because this is we are on the first level of security where we are evaluating the profiles. Okay, So the object level permissions are always managed by the profiles. Let's say you create a custom object A, B, C, and if you want a particular profile to see that particular object, to read that particular object, to have a read, edit, cred access on that particular object, right? You can manage this by setting up the profiles and then changing the settings. So let's go to the profiles, and for an example, for standard users, once you click on the standard user, so we are right now into a profile of a standard user where we are seeing a lot of options, right? So what are the assigned apps? What are the connected apps? We'll discuss this on later. Over here, you will see one thing called as object settings. Okay, if I click on object settings, so all the other options that there were there to define certain accesses for that profile. Okay. Now, if you see on the accounts, what they have given uh, over here in the object permission, that read, edit, create, and delete. So, if there are any user with this profile, okay, they would be able to create a record, they can edit the record, and they can also delete the record. As if now, just understand that they are speaking about just the object level access. Okay. But if you see for this object, AI inside reasons, it says no access. Okay. So that means you are not able to even see the object because we have given no access. There's no read access as well. So if we are creating any records for this particular object, okay, we are not able to see anything. So what I'll do is we have already created few objects in our previous classes. If you remember, this is one of the objects, right, that we created when we wanted to have an example of a junction object. So over here, let's focus on this custom object assignment. Okay, and what we'll do is let's try to give me a minute over here. Yeah, if you see assignments object, it says that no access. Okay, let's see if there are any users assigned to this profile. So there's one user known as Frost David, okay, who has been assigned to this standard user profile. Let's log in with this user, okay. As if now I've logged in as a system admin, so let's I'll show you the example first. So since system has all the accesses and he has read, write, delete access on this particular assignment object. If I open this object, do you see? If I click on new, I would be able to create a new assignment. Okay. I would be able to edit it if I want to change it from ABAP to SAP FICO. I can create it, I can edit it. Okay. Again, what I can also, let's say I do not want this record, I can also delete as well. So I have, since I have all the accesses on the object level, I am able to do so. But now let's log in with the user that we had in our mind, that is a standard user, and we see that this user does not have access to the assignment object. Okay, so let's log in with David Frost. Okay, we have logged in as David Frost, and let's try to find the assignment object over here. You see, you are getting no results. Okay, you are not able to find this object from here or from here as well because it has been given no accesses. Okay, now since I told that the profile is the place where you can give any access to any of the objects and the field as well, but we'll start with object first. So I'll log out and I'll again log in as my user. We'll go back to the standard user profile. In the standard user profile, in the object settings, we'll go to the object assignments, right? This is the assignment where he's not able to see anything. We'll click on the assignment object. So once you click on the object, you will have all these options available. Click on edit. Okay, and just a second. Okay, the object that we have created was not visible to everyone. So what we'll do is we'll go over here and let's go for sign up for on over here. Let me just check for a custom profile that I've created. Okay. Custom sales profile. We'll go with this and we'll go to the object settings. And to the assignments, we see no accesses. Okay, so over here, if you see, if I've logged in with a custom profile, and the reason was I have not given the access to uh, the standard profiles over there, so that's why it is not coming up. But yeah, if you create any of the profile, and if you go to this particular object, you will find this option, right? First is tabs on and off. So by chance, sometimes what you'll do is if the tabs are hidden, right, you won't be able to see the tabs option over there, and you see that okay, I have all the accesses, I have everything, but I'm not able to see the tab of that particular object. So that's why it should be on over here. And then based on that, if you give the accesses over here, that any user which is using this profile is having these accesses should be able to uh, like read any of read the assignment object, create the assignment object, edit it, delete it. This view all and modify all is a very powerful permission. So this will allow them to view all the records for the assignment object. Okay, and even modify all will give them the access to modify all the records which even they do not have access to. Okay, For an example, if I create any record, I am the owner of that record. I have the access by default. Okay, but let's say you create any record, and if I have modify all access in my user profile, I would be able to modify your data as well. Okay, and let's give all the read and edit access and click on save. Let's see if we have any user assigned to this profile, the custom profile. Okay, we do not have any user assigned to this profile. So what we can do is either we can create a new user from here, or we can also assign from the already created users. Okay, so I'll tell you how to change the profiles as well. So we are using custom sales profiles. So if I go on users, right, these are the users that are already in there we have already created. Let's try to change this profile, and you won't be able to do so. Why? Can anyone tell me why I'm not able to change the profile? I wanted to change this user profile, right? But I am not seeing any option over here. And even from the chat, I wanted to change it to custom sales profile that I have, but I'm not seeing the option over here. Uh, you have uh, you have gone through two concepts, right? Licenses and everything. Can anyone tell me why we are not able to create a custom or change the profile over here? Limited licenses, yes. I want to ask you a very basic question. Difference between user versus profile versus my Salesforce account. Okay, I'll take this question, Nabil. Yeah, limited licenses is the option because we have limited licenses, and whatever we are trying to achieve if over here, if you see, right, I should have a user license of Salesforce. Then only I can change that profile to this profile. Else, I won't be able to change that profile. Okay. So now, if I have given this the person as custom sales profile, and I click on login. So now you are seeing, okay, why it is coming as a very different UI. So this is basically a Salesforce classic UI. Okay, there's one permission that has to be enabled from the backend itself, so that it will allow your users to log in into the Lightning. There's an option that comes over here, switch to Lightning. Okay, this was the older version of Salesforce, how people used to see that in classic. Later in 2016 they have implemented the Lightning version, and what you usually see is on the Lightning part. Okay, over here, let's seems like the tag has not been enabled for it. Let's go back, and what we'll do is we'll see the profile over here for this sales profile. I would be logging out as that existing user because as a system admin, right, you cannot make any changes. So uh, whenever I come in this live meetings with you, right, I do not have data prepared with the thing so that you can roam around when you get into issues. Okay. So what we are doing is we were logging as David Source and we were trying to get and see the assignment. Let me over here. So if you see this access lightning and switch between lightning experience and classic experience. So this is one of the permissions that is not enabled for this profile because we have just logged in and you just saw that we were in a different UI. So that is also a lot of issues with your customers if you have different users and some users are using lightning and some users are using classic. So at times it would be difficult for you to troubleshoot their issues, right? So that's why this if you have to enable this term lightning experience user, okay, and you'll have to click on save. So this is just we are making some changes in a profile, okay, so that our users who has been assigned to that profile should be able to perform some actions, okay, and let's try to verify these settings as well just for a minute. So we have given every access to it. Default tab is on. Click on save. Okay, after saving, I have to check few things on this object. So let's go to this object and okay. And now again, I will be logging with that profile user. So now if you see, if I have just logged in right now, I have logged into the lightning experience instead of uh, the classic experience, okay? Uh, because there was a certain permission that was not enabled. So now you understand the power of profiles. In profiles, we have certain permissions, system-based permissions, and all those things which are there. And also, like it has report permissions, whether you can view a report, whether you can create a folder, whether you can manage other reports and everything, right? So what now just we did is we had given the access of the assignment. If you see, assignment is coming over here. If I click on assignment, I am able to create any assignment like T1. Now now you say why nothing is coming up because we have only given access to this project, this assignment object, nothing else, right? So this, if I try to save it, I won't be able to save it because these are the required fields. But as as I have not given the access to these two particular objects, I am not able to create a record. So this is an example of when the records are dependent on other records. Then even after giving the access to the assignment object, I'm not able to create an assignment record because the related objects project and developer, I have given no access to them. So until unless I do not give an access to them, I still won't be able to create any of the records. Okay. But for other objects, let's see if I have access or not. And if I click on new, I would be able to create a new lead or anything. So that's how like you can determine. Previously, they were not able to even create assignment object, but now they can do it. Just that we have to add two more permissions to it. Or if it had been a custom object without any relation to any object, we would have directly created the record. So that is the significance of like how you give the profile and their accesses to the profile. Now let me just quickly check the query from Nabil. So Nabil, you wanted to know that what's the difference between a user profile and versus my Salesforce. It's a very good one. Let me explain that as you. Okay. So basically, when we say my Salesforce account, whenever you say this, right, you are also a user in Salesforce. So just for an instance, I am logged into the system. How I can check where I do stand for? Okay. So once you log into the system, you click on this avatar icon. This is called as avatar icon. You can see there's a name. Okay. There's a URL to it. And once you click on settings and click on advanced user details, it shows my details, right? So when you say my Salesforce account, this is like you are one of the users of Salesforce. Okay. Then uh, the concept, then the thing is, what are users in Salesforce? So basically, whenever you will have person who would be uh, using your account, right? So once how they would use their account. So for them, we'll have to create their users in Salesforce. So once you create the users, okay, so these are the people who are actually using the system. Okay, they're using whatever is been configured into the system and leveraging the system, and they are the person who are either working as a client or a customer or as a person who is getting the relevant details. Now, the profile is something which gives them the access to the system. I have given you the very basic example of an apartment, right? In an apartment, there would be like secretaries, vice president, and everyone. So all are users of that apartment, and there are general residents. Okay, then the VP of the this apartment might have access to all the floors. Okay, so that means he is a system admin. Just for your reference, since you are the only resident of floor 14 and you have only access to that floor, right? You make like for other floors they have logged it for you. So then you are also a user of that apartment. That means of that Salesforce org, but you have limited access, and that limited access is determined by your designation, whatever is been given, and that's why profile is at most important. It gives you the upfront accesses of what you can use in Salesforce. Okay, and that is used in combination with the user licenses. So based on the user licenses, it will give you what features you can access. Okay, so we first talked on the profile, which was uh, helping you to configure your object settings. Again, if we deep down into the profile section over here, so this is we are only right now talking about the object level as of now. Let's go back to that profile that we were talking upon. That is sales custom profile over here. Uh, if you see, if I click on object settings once again for you, and if I go back again to the assignment object, it's at the top. Yeah. I'll click on edit. From here, I'll remove this view all and modify all. Okay. I wanted to like do not give accesses. And over here, if you see, these are by default, they have been given. But let's say if I put this, if I put remove all the options, they won't be able to create or any of the records. Okay. And if I put it again, and then if you see, this is coming as field permissions as well. So within the object permissions, if you go to any of the objects, let's go to the account object so that you might be able to relate better. If I go on account object, and if I click on edit, so if you can see that this particular profile, okay, has these two assigned record types, which we have discussed, North American accounts and South American accounts. And by default, the default record type is North American accounts. So whenever we go into the Salesforce and log in with this particular profile user, and when we create any of the record on the account, it would be getting created with this assigned record type. There are a lot of times what happens is user says that we have different record types and we have different page layouts. But when I'm trying to create a new record, it is always getting created by some other type. So the reason is if they have chosen something as a default record type, every time when they click on new button, okay, it would take that default record type, whatever they have configured as per the page layout. Okay. Then if you see, these are the object permissions that we have given. Okay. And also if you see over here, there are the field permissions as well. If you could remember in the first two sessions that we have done, we have created these fields, account-based source, account-based source, account name, account number, right? So that you can see, and over here, you can manage the accesses. So if you only want that this particular profile can read this account-based source and should not be able to edit it, okay? So you can uncheck it. And by default, if you're seeing some grayed out fields, right? And you cannot change the access over there. That is because they have been made written the page layout. That's why they are auto enabled, and that's why you cannot edit those fields. Or some are restricted by Salesforce itself. Okay. So as of now, I made that account based source. I should not be able to edit. Okay. And let's do one more. Let's say customer priority. So customer priority and account based source. I have deselected these two from editing. Okay. And let's try to save it. So now again, if I go and log in as this user, what's the good name? Let's save it from here so that we do not have to. So this is the one, right? I'll just log in and let's go to the account and let's try to see this account, right? Going on the details. So now do you see that we have certain the fields which I can edit, right? But I am not able to edit which field? Account based source. Okay. I'm not able to edit it. No pencil icon, no wrench icon is there. So what I did is I made this field read only. So how it is being used into your Salesforce for some fields, like let's say you are an interviewer, right? And I am the interviewee. Okay, I have given my interview, and you have given me the remarks. Now that remarks is shown on some particular record. So what is the requirement here in this scenario? I should be able to see the particular record and whatever the remarks that you have filled for me into the particular field. But I should not be able to edit it. Maybe you have filled me, but I could have just go and edit it and put it as pass. Bravo. So that's how that is a requirement, that if you do not want certain profiles to have any excesses on the field, that you put control by the profile. Okay, so we are still talking on the object level itself. If you see, this is on the object level and on the field level as of now. Also, quickly to log out and then again show you. So now let's assume that I and someone from here, let's assume that Nabil, right? So I and Nabil work for the same company and we have the same user profile as well. Let's say we both have a custom sales profile, just for an example. Okay. And we both work for North America region, and we are the person who heads the sales of the North America region and everything. Since we have the same profiles and everything, we would be seeing all the same accesses. Okay. Now let's say the third person joins. His name is David Frost. He's also given the same profile over here. Okay. Let's ignore the role as of now. I'll come back to roles and I'll tell you as well. But as if now, just focus on the profile. So now there's a third user who's joined our team. His name is David. Same profile. Everything permissions are same. So now we three both have the same level of access into the Salesforce ecosystem. Whatever I can see is equivalent to what Nabil and David could see. Now, let's say David is working fantastically well and he's doing amazing. So the manager reach out to David and say, okay, I think that you are able to work on the sales and now sorry, sales features and everything, but do you want to take some additional responsibilities, and I wanted to have some special access to the other features as well, but I won't change your profile. Okay, in order to give special permissions and in order to open up the accesses. So with profile, whatever profile you have given, you have the limited set of actions and limited set of system permissions that has been given to you. But now we want David to perform something extra. In this example, we can take as it. Let's say there's an object called as ABC. Okay, let's do it. Maybe or maybe let's check one thing. Let's go to this custom profile. And again in the object settings, we have created another object, right? It should be there. So this object has only read access over here. Okay, there's no other access to it. Just for an example, assuming that there was no access over here, and now the manager wants that, okay, only this particular user should have access, and me and Nabil should not have the access. Now we are on the same level. We do not want to change the profile or anything, but we want to open up the access for a particular object. So if I go here and if I give all the permissions, so what will happen? Right. Then, and if I check all these boxes, what will happen? All the users who has been assigned to this profile should have access to the project object, which my manager does not want to have it. He only wants to have it for particular user Damien. So what we'll do is there's a concept called as permission sets. Okay, in this quick find, we'll click on permission sets over here. And then if you see, there are certain permission sets that has already been created, and they have been given some descriptions as well. Okay, like this buyer permission sets is allow to access to the store, and let's see categories and everything, right? This is for data cloud. If you use the data cloud, something like this. This is for sales engagement basic user. This is for the sales the productivity features that is being given, right? So there are certain different permission sets. So what we'll do is we'll click on new. So it asks for the labels. Right? What we'll give project object access giver. You can give any meaningful name. I'm just giving you for your references, right? And as of now, I'm not choosing any licenses as of now. But at certain, right, it allows you to, when you choose a particular licenses, then the user who has a particular license attached, and this licenses should be equivalent to or higher than that. Just to reiterate that, let's say I use a Salesforce licenses that is on the highest level of accesses. And over here, if I choose any other licenses apart from that Salesforce licenses for the particular user, sometimes there's a user mismatch. You cannot give those permissions. Okay. As of now, I'm just putting it over here, just like it. So now what we have saved that object, project object access giver. That's it. And then we'll go to the object and we'll go to the project object. Okay, and we'll click on edit. And now I'll give all the accesses. So now this access is being given to only the domain user, but we have the same profile. So just imagine that if after giving this permission, when we log into the system as a custom sales profile users, we are only able to see the project object. But now I have given the special permissions to this user using the permission set. So I've created this, and now what we'll do is, since we have given the permission that should be coming in a permission set, we will click on manage assignment, because after this you have to assign it to a user. Click on add assignment, and it was David Frost. Click on David Frost over the checkbox. Click on next. Also, there's a new feature called as setting the expiration date. Now, let's say if the manager wants that, okay, I want you to work on the project object, but only for 1 day, 1 week, 30 days. So after this, it will get auto expired. Okay. If you put no expiration date, then they would have access for all the time. You can always put the expiration date as well. It is handful in those cases where if you want to have certain accesses for a particular permission or a particular object for some time, you can assign them a permission set with expiry date so that you can work on it, and then later on, based on your requirement, you can always remove it or it get auto expired. Okay. For now, I do not want to put any expiry. I'll click on just assign. So we have assigned this permission set to this user, which was used to open up the permissions, because on the profile level he was only having the read access. Okay. Now let's try to log in with David again. And once you log in with David, and if you come over here and click on project, you can see that you can create any project. Let's say TYD, maybe. I'm able to create the project, right? If I create another user with the same profile, the references that I was giving for myself, right? I won't be able to create this because on the profile level, I do not have access to this object. Okay, but for this David Frost, we have created extra permission set so that he has more leverage to the system. Okay. So what I wanted to show you. So this is on the profiles and the permission sets. For permission set group, it is just like the combination of different permissions. So let's say I created one permission for Sales Cloud. I created one permission from Sales Service Cloud. I created one permission to write Apex queries and everything. So when I created different permission sets and I collaborate them into one permission group, so that's how you can create permission set group. It is basically a combination of lot of permission sets assigned to the group of users so that they can do a specific task. Okay. This is what we have just did, right? We went to the permission sets and we uh, select an object and we have given certain objects on the project object and have you assigned it to the user. The second thing that we just talked about is the field level security. So you this is an old view, what you are seeing, right? Basically, this is a non-enhanced view of the users. I have already shown you when you go on object settings, right? There's an option just next below to it. Those are called as settings, and where you can, for every field, you can have the read and edit access. Okay. So for controlling your object and your field, we have two ways. First is your profile, second is your permission sets and the permission sets group. Okay. Now, the third important most thing is the record level security. Before that, I wanted to have to see if there are any questions. Okay, I'll go back again to this record level security. We'll discuss this, but before that, just wanted to cross confirm that I'll reiterate what we have discussed till now. It is more on the theoretical side, just to have things in mind. Once you do those things, you would be able to understand, okay, why this user, and then I'll share some SOQL queries as well in the last so that you can understand how things are. Okay. So first of all, what we've discussed, that we have to have access to the org, then on the object level, then on the field level that we have discussed. Now, when we go on the record level, okay, there are four things that come into existence. Okay, we'll discuss it. So when you come on the record level, there are four things that come into existence. Record level, as if I open any of the records, let's see if it, okay, let's open account. So you see over here, let me just put it for all accounts, and there are around 14 records that are coming up for the system admin. There are 14 records into the system. So we have talked about the account object and the fields over here. Now I could see 1, 2, 3, 14 objects. These are there, and this is visible to me. Now assume the scenario that you have different users, you have different businesses, and there are different accounts in Salesforce, and I do not want to share my account with someone else. Someone else do not want to share their accounts with me. Assume you can give an example such as a bank. Let's say, assuming that these accounts are all different banks. So this is a bank of, let's say, Bank of Pakistan. This is Bank of India. This is Bank of Sri Lanka. This is Bank of Bangladesh. So as of now, as an admin, I can see all the records. But when I have different users who are based out in India, who are based out in Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, I do not want them to see these records. Okay. So on the record level, we have four things over here. And what are those four things? Let's give you a thing. So first of all, this is org-wide sharing default. Okay. So this basically is, if you read it out over here, right? For every record, there's an owner field that tells who's the owner of that particular record, who owns that field, who has created that field. Okay. Whenever you create a record in Salesforce, you are basically having the entire CRUD access. What is CRUD? Create, R for read, U for Can anyone tell me what is U for? D is for delete. Anyone knows what is the full form of CRUD? C is for create, read. What is U for? Yeah, this is for update or edit, right? So we were seeing edit a record. This is basically update a record and then delete, right? So then uh, this is like when you set up the OWD for the Salesforce org. So what you say? What is the OWD? OWD is basically your org-wide default settings for all the objects. Okay. Uh, Over here, it look like this. Let's show you in the real time. Okay. If you find OWD, you will find it. Okay. If you find for organization wide addresses, you won't find it. You'll have to click on sharing settings. Okay. And let's scroll to the top. Okay. So over here, you can see on your right hand side, these are the objects, and another it says that what are the internal accesses, what are the external accesses, and grant access using hierarchies. Okay. So let's understand each object and each details one by one. Okay. Let's see for account and contract. There's an option coming up as public read write. Okay. If you see for this option badge, it is showing as public read only. If you see for, let's say, opportunities, what is there in the plate? And this project, it is public read write. Okay. And assignment is controlled by parent object. And then if you are seeing some options are coming as private. So what is the meaning of these default internal accesses? And what is the meaning of external accesses as well? Okay. So whenever you have some object which is being given as private, that means only the owner of that particular record can see that record. Okay. We'll go on the role hierarchy later, but as of now, if an account is being set to private, that means the person who has created the record and the system admin, because he has view all, modify all permission, can see uh, those records. Now, another option is public read only. As per the name says, right? Public read only. That means anyone into the Salesforce system can read the record. Okay, they can view the record, but they cannot update it or cannot delete it as well. Okay, and then last, what it says that public read write. That means anyone who has access to the Salesforce can read the record and write as if they can also update it, but they cannot delete it. But they can update as well. Okay. Now there's one thing coming up over here that is called as control by parent. Okay. So this is like we have certain objects which have the relationships, right, with them. So account and contacts, account and opportunities. Even if you remember, I created this assignment object as a junction object. Okay. So it says control by parent, and its parent are developer and project. So if project is public read write, that means assignment is also public read write. Okay. So whatever be the parent object of that particular object, from those we are able to devise the accesses of that particular object. Okay. For order as well, it is being controlled by this product. So now if I go and edit it, just for an example, let's see, this is public read write. Okay, that means any user right now into the Salesforce org can view any of the account. So just we'll take account as an example and we'll leverage on this further. But as of now, this is if I click on edit, if you see over here, I'm able to change the options over here. Okay. So if I change the options, then the accesses would change. And this is on the record level. Okay. So this is first thing. I will deep down into this just after telling all the possible options on the record sharing. Now, the second thing is called as role hierarchy. So basically, if you remember when we create a user, we have to give them a user license and a profile. Okay. With similar way, there's one thing called as role. So if you provide a different role or a particular role to any of the users, then what will happen by default for standard objects, please retain this thought that for standard objects, right, user who have the higher role would have access to their lower attributes. So that means, let's say if I take any example, let's say Noor, and she's my manager, and she's higher on the role hierarchy, and I am the one who is the lead developer of the team. So whatever accesses of the records I have, automatically for standard objects, she would have the same accesses. Okay. For custom objects, they will have to check a particular check field, which is known as grant access hierarchies. Okay. I'll show you that as well in another tab. So as if now there are no role setup, but if you go to this model, right, where I was checking for the sharing settings, you could see there's one checkbox, grant access using hierarchies, and by default it is checked for all the standard objects. This is a custom object, right? So you can change it. You can see this grant access using hierarchies, right? I if i if i uncheck this, that means, just example of a project, right? uh, uh, Taking the same example, I am the user, Noor is also the user, Noor is my manager. So any record that I create on the project object would be accessible to Noor. Okay. But if I uncheck this, then what will happen? Uh, if I uncheck this as of now, okay, then by this option, she won't be able to see the record. But then what we have given over here, that we have given the record as public read write. Okay. So that's why she should be able to see all the records. So now, whenever the three settings come in place over here, if you see, this is the same architecture of the baseline model where OWD is the base level access. Whatever the access that has been defined by the OWD or the sharing settings that we are discussing over here is the base model. Now, going further, we would be only be opening up the accesses for the user. Okay. uh, this is the most restrictive thing. Whatever you want to restrict on the OWD, you have to restrict on the OWD. Make it private, make it public read rate based on the kind of the usage of that particular object. Okay, and then we would give the access using the role hierarchies, sharing rules, or the manual sharing. So these three would come up later. So in this example, uh, if I make let's say let's give an example to it so that you can understand. As if now account is public read write. Okay, let's let's do one thing. I'll I'm now going I'm going to create a account. Okay, let's keep it for all account. And if you see who is the account owner for all the records, I am the account owner, and this is an auto process. So and as of now I have 14 records. Let's quickly create one account, North American account, uh, test for today. Okay. And anything else is a mandatory field. Okay, this is a mandatory field. Anything else? No. So now I have just created one record. Okay. And we will play on this record itself. Uh, okay. Can we have a 5 or 7 minutes break? Sir, your current screen is showing. Is not showing. Navid, if you're not able to see my screen, not showing. Okay. Can anyone else having the same issue? Can confirm that if you're not able to see the screens I'm toggling through. Anyone else? Not showing. Okay. Uh, okay. No worries on that. I'm stop sharing. Uh, what I'll do is let's take a quick 5 minutes of break. I'll have to pay the sala. So let's meet at around right now it is 7:45 in India. Maybe around 8 minutes. So let's meet at 7:53, where we would be taking an example of the same account that I've created, and then we'll work upon. Would that be fine? Thank you. Let's meet at 7:53. Next 8 minutes. Yeah. And also we might have to extend the session because you guys have joined a bit late. 10 minutes I was on time. Just kidding. So I wanted to clear and want to tell you a lot of things. So yeah, we'll have to extend. Let me know if you're feasible enough to do so. Yeah, let's connect in next 7 to 8 minutes. Thank you.